one of the stocks that's down in after hours as opposed to Boeing being up is Advanced Micro Devices, AMD. And I'm not sure that that's right. It's been wrong several times when this has happened. So let's go right to the doctor, Dr. Lisa Su. She joins us now in another exclusive interview. Lisa, it's great to see you. And I want to get things straight right from the beginning. I've got 4 pieces of research. Tell us about how you lowered expectations, you lowered your number, you lowered your number. That's just not true. You maintain your number. And I think we got to clarify the record right now, because that's why the stock's getting hurt. Am I right?
Well, good morning, Jim. It's great to be here with you guys this morning. I appreciate the time. Look, we're very pleased with our performance this quarter. You know, there's no question that it's an unprecedented time and there are no rules for this. But that being the case, we saw 40% growth year over year, 5 points of margin expansion. When we look forward, we see 25% growth in a market that does have some uncertainties. But what we have is some strong product cycles, and we're excited about those product cycles. And so we feel good about our performance.
What do you have to say, for instance, about that there's some softness from COVID-19 in China, but in general, you've got a good story for both work at home and also play at home. Both sides are working in your favor.
Yeah, so I would say in this world that we're living in, there are a couple of secular trends that are positive for computing. Work from home is positive. We saw a significant growth in notebooks. A lot of people are refreshing their notebooks either for use at home or for use in schooling, and so that's a nice secular trend. Consoles, gaming, another important trend for us. The Microsoft and Sony console launches later this year are 2 of the most anticipated launches. And from everything that we see, those are on track, and we're very excited about those. So, and I should also mention the data center, Jim. We talk a lot about the trends and the fact that we're all doing video conferencing and we're all doing this work from home. It requires a lot more cloud computing, and we've seen some nice trends there as well. So overall, I think there are some pockets of softness, and the pockets of softness were around, in the first quarter, we saw a little bit of softness in China as they were shut down. That's now, come back a bit here in April. But overall, I would say all things considered, we're very, fortunate that we're in markets where, people need more computing. So that's really our focus.
I'm glad you mentioned the cloud, Lisa, because there are very few things right now in the world that are accelerating. Almost everything's either slowing down or just stopped. It seems as if this is a moment where cloud demand is far greater and digitization far more ahead. It's kind of like everything's being rushed by this, by the downturn, and that we became digitized almost overnight where we thought we already were. Speak to how strong the growth is in cloud.
It is truly amazing, Jim. If you think about it, I mean, we basically, turned, the world to working from home in, sort of an instant. And that's had a lot of ramifications on the infrastructure. And, people need more infrastructure, whether it's broadband infrastructure to get connectivity to the home, or it's cloud infrastructure to support all of this computing that we're doing remotely. So it has been, a significant acceleration of cloud deployments that we've seen in the first quarter. We see that continuing as we go into the second quarter and beyond. And overall, I think it also says a little bit about how important the infrastructure is. So beyond what happens over the next quarter or two, we're all going to have a new expectation for what our infrastructure looks like and what our experience looks like. And we want the flexibility of certainly we want to return to the office and see our friends and see our colleagues. But we want the flexibility to always have at our fingertips the computing that we need. And that's, by the way, that's what we've always thought. We've always thought high performance computing would enable that. And so to see the build out in the cloud, to see people upgrading their home infrastructures, I think that's the wave of the future.
Lisa, you talk about being in all the right categories, and that makes sense. But as we see life sciences becoming pretty much without a doubt a larger and larger part of the economy, will there be efforts to deepen your exposure to those categories and markets over time?
Carl, I really appreciate that question. I think this is such an important moment. If you look at what healthcare professionals are doing, either those on the front lines for those researchers who are helping us look for therapeutic vaccines. We are really proud to power some of that equipment, and it is absolutely a focus for us to do everything we can. So, a lot of large supercomputers are actually being used to accelerate the research that is being done in terms of the search for therapeutics and vaccines. We're very pleased to participate in the White House High Performance Computing Consortium. We're also making significant donations to universities to forward that research. I think it's an opportunity. I mean, it's an opportunity for us to modernize healthcare, and I'm very excited about that. And I think, again, that's another secular trend that needs computing and can utilize all of the capabilities that we have. So I do think it's an area that that we will spend a lot more time on going forward.
Lisa, it's David Faber. Coming back to AMD as a company, and you, of course, as its leader, how are you approaching the going back to work that we all are awaiting and hopefully will be coming fairly soon for some companies in some states? What are you doing in terms of changing workspaces, if anything, or thinking about how people are going to work differently in this post-COVID environment?
Yeah, so David, great question. I think that's on all of our minds today. I think our strategy is going to be conservative in how we approach it. So I think we're all thinking that this is going to be a very phased approach. It's health and safety of our employees first. And the fact is we have a strong infrastructure, so we can be very productive with our engineering and sales activities in a work from home mode. But yeah, we're going to take this slowly in a phased approach and ensure that we bring back a fraction of our employees when the local regulations allow. But I will say I'm really proud of the productivity that we've seen overall. Again, you're transitioning 12,000 plus people in a very short amount of time. And like many companies, we've been able to adapt on the fly. And we're very fortunate to have that capability.
Lisa, I want to just drill down again on something that may be a little more pedestrian, but has to do with the stock. You bucked the trend and you guided for a full year. You guided for 25% growth in the face of a pandemic. Other companies, including companies in your industry, pulled their forecast. And the reason why they did that was because they knew it would be down. You, I think, are being penalized for a forecast that is up 25%. Isn't it true that because of the strength in gaming, because of the strength in cloud, because of the strength in notebooks, you were able to give a forecast when every other company in your segment pulled its forecast?
Yeah, so Jim, I heard you and David talking about this comment actually yesterday on your morning show. So look, we decided to give some guidance for full year. So we guided to 25% with a wider range than we normally guide, so 25% plus or minus 5%. And the reason was because we do think the story is a little bit different. Yes, there are uncertainties in the market. Yes, we're all watching, the macro and how people, how that reacts. But we have some very strong product growth drivers in the second half of the year, and we wanted to make sure that we were clear on how those played out. So notebooks, we think, are going to be very good for us. We have a strong product cycle. We're just starting the rollout of some new notebooks, and they are very much in high demand. Consoles and gaming, we think, are going to be a great growth driver. Again, lots of anticipation. The fact is, those cycles are big, especially in the first few years, and we think the second half of this year is going to be very strong. And then I mentioned cloud. I think cloud is another growth driver for us as we see new platforms coming on board. So we're excited about a 25% growth year. There are some uncertainties, on the PC side with consumer demand, and we'll watch those. But yes, we decided to give full year guidance mainly to make sure that people understood there are some things in the product cycles that we see good visibility to. And then there's some areas where we'll have to see how things play out. And overall, that comes out to a 25% growth year for us, plus or minus, and we're happy with that.
Last question. There were some on the call and some analysts I spoke to after who said this is a situation where AMD is starting to cede growth back, cede share back to a competitor. I came back and said, no, they just won the Lawrence Livermore contract. They're obviously the Epic sales are going to be better in Q2. Do you have any feel that the analysts who were saying that, well, this was really the high water mark in terms of share for AMD, that's a true narrative?
Yeah, Jim, I would say I don't agree with that. I would say that, look, you have to take a step back from quarterly dynamics and just take a look at the big picture and what we see as growth drivers. I think, in any environment, 20+% growth is a great year. I think in this environment, especially, we believe that, the growth story is a differentiated story. And, when I look going forward, I still, every time I talk to you, I say we're in the early innings, but Jim, we're still in the early innings. I mean, there's a lot of product cycle to go. We're very excited about the large supercomputing wins with Lawrence Livermore National Labs, as well as Oak Ridge National Labs. Those are going to be really exciting projects for us. We have, a lot of exciting projects on the cloud and with gaming. So, overall, as I said, it's a challenging environment to predict. But there are some things that we know in terms of our product cycles. And, we're going to do the best we can in the environment.